So welcome back students after the break. Hope you are fresh now. So we'll start our next topic of this MPQ series, most probable questions of polity. So the next and the might be the last topic, okay? After this the topic is of emergency provisions. After this emergency provisions we will look into the current affair related topics, okay? So that will be in the next class. So that will be the most important class. Okay, so let us go for emergency provisions. As you know, now there is no national emergency in recent thing. National emergency happens only once, okay, during Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's time. State emergencies have taken place many of times. In recent case I can only think of in Maharashtra, I guess, few years back, and financial emergencies hardly have ever taken place. So but still UPSC have consistently asked questions on emergencies. So let us look over it. Emergency provisions. So from where emergency provisions are taken? They are mentioned in part 18, okay, and these are adopted from German constitution. Weimar General Constitution, and also some part is adopted from Government of India Act 1935. Okay, so from these two things emergency provisions have been adopted. Now you know there are three kind of emergencies. First one is national emergency, then state emergency, and financial emergency. So article 350 deals with national emergency. Actually the term national emergency is never mentioned in the constitution. What the term is used in constitution for national emergency is proclamation of emergency. That is the constitutional term for national emergency. National emergency term is not used. Then next one is article 356 president's proclamation, which is state emergency or constitutional emergency. There are two names, state emergency or constitutional emergency, but what it mentions in constitution is president's proclamation. So basically for state emergency the constitution never uses the word called emergency, okay, so that's irony. So it takes the name president's proclamation. For national emergency the name is proclamation of emergency, and for article 360 that is financial emergency. Not much in it. Let us start. Okay, so what are the grounds of national emergency? So first ground is war. National emergency can be declared on war or on external aggression and on war, external aggression and armed rebellion. Okay, armed rebellion. So basically this armed rebellion condition was adopted in 44th Amendment Act, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Earlier it was called as internal aggression. Internal aggression. So the national emergency which was put forth in 1975 was based on this internal aggression. Okay, so after then Morarji Desai government came in, 44th Amendment Act, and they replaced it by armed rebellion. So basically now to put forth national emergency, okay, to apply national emergency, it has become very difficult. So 44th Amendment Act has included armed rebellion in place of internal aggression. What is the procedure for national emergency? Procedure is first president will put into effect the national emergency only. President will put into effect the national emergency only after written communication. Only after written communication by cabinet minister. Okay. Again, this written communication cabinet, this again was added in 44th Amendment Act. Actually the word cabinet is only used once in the constitution, that is with relation to national emergency. Okay. So president will proclaim the national emergency only after getting the written communication from a cabinet member. Then after president has proclaimed it, it needs to be, now this proclamation needs to be passed by or approved by both the houses of parliament, that is both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, within 1 month by special majority. Okay. So after president has proclaimed national emergency, now it has to be approved by parliament, by both the houses within 1 month, and that too by special majority. This is again condition from 44th Amendment Act. Earlier it was simple majority. So approved by both the houses of parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, within 1 month by special majority. And if it has to be renewed, for example, president national emergency cannot be extended for lifelong. It is hardly happens for 6 months, only for 6 months. It needs to be renewed every 6 months. Need to be renewed every 6 months by the parliament, again by special majority. Again this condition was added in 44th Amendment Act, special majority. Renewed every 6 months by special majority. So this is the procedure for application of national emergency. Now what if you want to revoke the national emergency? Okay. So revoking of national emergency can be directly done, cannot be done directly by the president. Okay, it has to be following a process. The first thing is that Lok Sabha has to pass it. The revocation of the national emergency has to be passed by Lok Sabha by simple majority. For example, let me write here. Procedure for revocation. Revocation of national emergency cannot be done directly by, not by president directly, not by president directly. It has to be first, this motion needs to be passed by Lok Sabha by simple majority. Simple majority. If Lok Sabha passes a resolution, then president can say the national emergency is revoked. Another way is that by calling for a special session. For example, if 1/10 member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha give a motion, 1/10 member with their signature give a motion to the presiding officer or president calling for revocation of the national emergency, then presiding officer or the president will call upon the session of the parliament, special session of the parliament, and the motion will be put forth. So this is one way to revoke the emergency. So when the presiding officer will call when the house is in session, and president when the house is not in session. So 1/10 member need to sign a motion which is then needed to be submitted to president. Then special session can be called within 14 days. Okay, special session can be called within 14 days by presiding officer if the parliament is in session, or by the president if the parliament is not in session. So this is the revocation procedure. Cannot be directly done by the president. Even with the help of national emergency, what can be done is that Lok Sabha can be extended by 1 year at a time. So first proclamation, then Lok Sabha can be extended by 1 year. Similarly, state assembly can be again extended by 1 year. This can be done, and this extension will take place 1 year and till 6 months after the national emergency has been revoked. So let us see the other conditions here. State center relation. Now you know that when national emergency is in application, state government is not dismissed. First thing you need to know is that neither the state nor the union government, nothing is dismissed. State government is not dismissed. Okay, it still remains in power. What happens is that the state list converts into concurrent list. Basically, all the state lists matter get into concurrent list, and now even the parliament can pass legislations on the state list. So basically what is happening, legislation is becoming a unitary system. We have federal system, state and concurrent and union list. Now each and every subject can be legislated upon by the union parliament. So basically the legislation is now unitary in case of national emergency. Similarly, the executive power of the union also increases, and they are able to put all the executive action on the state government also. So basically executive power also becomes unitary. in one hand, in the hands of the union. Financial legislation also become unitary. For example, as you know, Finance Commission gives us direction for distribution of the gross tax between the center as well as the state. So that thing can also be, that is, you know, that is advisory. The Finance Commission tells it in an advisory manner. That's not compulsion. So basically, if there is national emergency, then that ratio between national and the state can be very much skewed towards the center. So that also becomes unitary. So till how much time this unitary structure will take place, will be in practice. So for example, executive will remain unitary, will remain in unitary condition till the national emergency is in progress. Okay. So by that time national emergency is being revoked, the same time executive will be in their normal condition. Legislative will remain unitary until 6 months after the national emergency is revoked. Okay. So after the national emergency is revoked, national emergency is done, there after that 6 months after, the legislative will come back into its own position. Financial system becoming unitary, this will remain until the financial year ends. Okay. So these are the conditions for the central state, how the national emergency affects central state relations. Now effect on fundamental right. What are the effect on fundamental right? So first is, if the national emergency is declared on the grounds of, war or external aggression, only these two things. Okay, war or external aggression. The third thing is armed rebellion, that is not considered. If national emergency is based on war or external aggression, then Article 19 is automatically inapplicable. Okay, automatically suspended. No need of any president's order or a rule to determine that Article 19 is suspended. If national emergency is proclaimed on the basis of war or external aggression, Article 19 is automatically suspended. But if, now what about other constitutional rights, other fundamental rights? Now you must know Article 20 and Article 21. This is regarding Article 20, conviction of offences, and Article 21 is right to life. These two articles can never be suspended in any case. Okay, so this is one thing you should know. This evolution has been done with the help of Supreme Court judgment as well. Okay, so we are not considering the Supreme Court judgments. We are just now focused on what is the situation at present. So Article 19 is automatically suspended only when national emergency is proclaimed on the basis of war or external aggression. Article 20 and 21 can never be suspended. And for suspension of all other rights, okay, suspension of all other rights other than 2021, if other fundamental rights are to be suspended, other fundamental rights are to be suspended, then it can be done only by president's order. It requires a president order. Okay, Article 19 is automatically suspended if under those two conditions, but for other fundamental rights to be suspended, it requires president's order. Fine. So that is the effect on fundamental right. Next, so basically on these four heads you can study every emergency. National emergency, then we'll go to state emergency. So state emergency can be studied under these three heads: grounds, procedures, and effect. What are their effects? First is the ground. What is the ground of proclamation of president's rule or the state emergency, also known as president's rule? In common term we call it as president's rule. So what are the grounds? There is only one ground, not even yes, only one ground, that is constitutional breakdown. If governor is satisfied that there is a constitutional breakdown in the state, he can directly recommend the president under Article 356 to apply president's rule or get into effect the president's rule. So only there is one ground for president's rule, that is constitutional breakdown of the state, no other thing. Now if emergency is applied, then what happens? President will take up all the executive powers, and parliament will take up all the legislative powers. Okay, all the legislative powers. Now parliament can directly pass laws on the state list. These laws on the state list can be amended, repealed, etc. only by a legislative authority. That is, after, for example, after the state emergency over, new government will come. Only that government can make changes to these laws which are passed by the parliament on the state list regarding state emergency, during state emergency. Okay. The laws passed by parliament during national emergency on the state list, those are automatically done away with after 6 months of the revocation of the national emergency. But this is not automatically, these laws are not automatically taken back. Okay, this remains until the next legislative authority will change them. Fine. I am again repeating, if any law, I am talking about national emergency now, if any law on the state list is done by the parliament, it will remain in practice till 6 months after the national emergency has been revoked. Okay, not until infinite time, only till 6 months the national emergency has been revoked. But regarding state emergency, this law will remain until any further legislative body changes it. Okay, simple. So this is the thing regarding state emergency. What is the procedure? Procedure is, so president will proclaim state emergency only on basis of basically recommendation of governor. It not even require written recommendation. That is also not the condition here. Directly, if the governor has recommended, even by a phone call, state emergency can be declared. Okay, so president can declare state emergency on the recommendation of governor. Further, once it's declared, it has to be again similarly passed by parliament, approved by parliament, that is by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, within 2 months with simple majority. Okay, so these are approved by Lok Sabha. This proclamation, after the proclamation of emergency, it has to be approved by Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha within 2 months by simple majority. Okay, now this system again was brought in after 44th Amendment Act. Previously it was until revoked. Okay, not even 2 months, it was until revoked. Okay, sorry. The next thing that we need to see is that renewal in national emergency. Renewal has to be done every 6 months. Here also renewal has to be done every 6 months. Approval has to be given every 6 months. So this is in 44th Amendment Act. This is not. This is the original. Approval every 6 months. That is 6 months renewal condition was added under 44th Amendment Act. Earlier it was until revoked, means it can go as far as the union government says. So basically the renewal condition is brought by 44th Amendment Act. Now, till what time state emergency can be in operation? So the constitution says only up to 3 years maximum. State emergency can be operational for maximum of 3 years, not beyond it. Okay, this is the condition, maximum of 3 years. There is no point in keeping state in president's rule for more than 3 years. Otherwise, you can take the new elections only, right? So basically, state emergency can be applicable in a state only for maximum of 3 years, and that too there is a condition. For example, if that state emergency has to be beyond 1 year, that is, if state emergency has to be beyond 1 year. Up to 1 year there is no problem, but after 1 year there has to be 2 conditions need to be satisfied. What are the 2 conditions? 2 conditions are: first, there should be national emergency in operation, and there shall be a certificate from Election Commission of India that election in this area cannot be taken place. Cannot be is not possible, in simple words. So if a state emergency has to be extended beyond 1 year in a state, then there has to be two conditions which are required. Both the conditions required. It is not or, it is and. Basically the first condition is there has to be a national emergency, and the second condition is election commission certificate that election is not possible. Okay, so this beyond 1 year condition is also gift of 44th Amendment Act. So effect, basically you can say government becomes unitary. Okay, all the state list subjects are legislated by the union, so becomes unitary. But further there is hardly any change. Other than that there is no change. For example, the government is run by the governor with the help of chief secretary. No effect on fundamental right, no effect on judiciary. Okay, effect on state legislature. Effect on state assembly, I will say. So what happens to state assembly? So if there is a state emergency in operation, so as soon as president will proclaim the state emergency, the state government will be suspended. State government, I am not talking about legislature, only the government will be suspended. The assembly is not dissolved yet, only the government is suspended. In suspension form the government is there. Okay, after the state president rule is applied. Now you know state emergency first proclaimed by the president and then approved by, and then it is approved by parliament by simple majority within 2 months. Within 2 months. So if it is approved by parliament after the president has said that there is state emergency in this place, then state government is suspended. Then if the parliament has approved it also within 2 months by simple majority, then the state assembly will be dissolved. Okay, so state assembly will be dissolved only after approval by the parliament, not after the president's proclamation, only after approval by the parliament. Okay, then only state assembly can be dissolved. This is not given in constitution, this is as per S.R. Bommai judgment of the Supreme Court. Okay, so this is regarding state emergency. What is financial emergency? So this is simple and not much in it. It has never been applied in India. First thing is that, and if what are the grounds? In case of financial credit situation is there, highly unstable condition is there, then only financial emergency can be applied. And who will apply? Again, president will proclaim that there is a financial emergency, and this proclamation will be approved by Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, that is parliament, within 2 months by simple majority. Okay, within 2 months by simple majority. This need not to be renewed. It can go until it is revoked. Final. So nothing much in it. Effect is that president can put some conditions, can ask for financial canons. Basically, it can ask state government to hold with their money bills, and if money bills are passed, it has to be considered for president's consideration. It has to be given to president for consideration. Money bills. It can also reduce salaries of even Supreme Court judges, High Court judges. Okay, so basically reduction of state government employee salaries, union government employee salaries, even Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, everything can be done. So not much in it. We'll directly go to the questions. Consider the following statements regarding President's rule under Article 356 of the Constitution. There is no maximum period prescribed for its operation. So we have seen President's rule means state emergency. Maximum period is mentioned, which is 3 years. Okay, so this is wrong. When it is imposed, the President can assume himself any of the powers vested in the governor. Of course, this is also right. So only 2. When a national emergency is proclaimed, Article 19 is automatically suspended. So this statement is partially wrong. Basically, it is a wrong statement. Article 19 is not suspended when national emergency is in operation. There is a condition in there. There is a caveat. National emergency on the basis of war or external aggression, then only Article 19 is suspended. Not in all conditions. During a national emergency, a presidential order suspending enforcement of any fundamental rights requires parliamentary approval. Yes. For example, president order is passed. President order for suspension of fundamental rights are to be sent to the parliament for approval. This is right. Armed rebellion is one of the grounds on which national emergency can be proclaimed. Yes, according to 44th Amendment Act. Emergency can only be declared all over the country and cannot be restricted to a specific area. Okay, so this part is new. So emergency can only be declared all over the country and not specific area. So this was the condition. This condition was there. Okay, this condition was there before 1976. That means before 42nd Amendment Act. 42nd Amendment Act changed this condition and said national emergency need not to be all over the country. It can be on the parts also. Okay? So national emergency can be applied to a specific area as well as to the complete country. So that is mentioned in 42nd Amendment Act. So this current statement is wrong. Not only it can be declared on specific area also. President can proclaim a national emergency only after receiving a written recommendation from the Union Cabinet. This is what the 44th Amendment Act says. So only two are correct. Fourth, a state emergency can be declared by the president in case of an administrative breakdown in a state. I have already told you for the ground for state emergency president rule, there is only one ground, that is constitutional breakdown, no other thing. Not in case of administrative breakdown. No, that is not a condition. This is wrong. Proclamation of president rule must be approved and ratified by both the houses of parliament within 2 months from the date of its issue by a special majority. This is a simple majority, not a special majority. The president's rule cannot extend beyond a period of 3 years in total. This is also the condition. This is right. Proclamation declaring financial emergency must be approved by both the houses of parliament within 2 months from the date of its issue. This is correct. A resolution approving the proclamation of financial emergency must be passed by houses with a simple majority. Yes, simple majority. Once approved by both the houses of parliament, a financial emergency continues indefinitely till it's revoked. This is also correct. Sixth, once approved by the parliament, the proclamation of emergency continues for 6 months unless revoked earlier. Proclamation of emergency means that we are talking about national emergency. Once approved by parliament, the proclamation of emergency continues for 6 months unless revoked earlier. As we have seen, it has to be renewed every 6 months, so it will continue for 6 months only. Proclamation can be extended for a further period of 6 months through a parliamentary resolution. Yes. The resolution to extend the national emergency can be passed by simple majority. No, this is by special majority. So, two statements are correct. The president can revoke the national emergency at any time. I have already told you, president cannot revoke it at any time. It has to be passed by, the resolution has to be passed by Lok Sabha. Okay, so this is wrong. The resolution passed by special sitting of Lok Sabha with a special majority can revoke the national emergency immediately. It does not require a special majority. Simple majority is enough. So this is also wrong. The provision of revoking national emergency through a special sitting of Lok Sabha was present in the original constitution. Yes, it was present in the original constitution. Eighth, imposition of national emergency automatically suspends the provision of Article 19 of the Constitution. Okay, question is repeated, I guess. So again, this imposition of national emergency in certain conditions, war and external aggressions, only suspends the Article 19. This is wrong. Suspension of provisions of Article 19 is applicable when a national emergency is declared on the grounds of armed rebellion. So suspension of Article 19 is applicable when national emergency is declared only, not on armed rebellion. Again, it's a war and external aggression. This is also wrong. Both statements are incorrect. A special section of Lok Sabha can be called for revocation of state emergency and financial emergency. No, this condition is called national emergency, not for state emergency. In event of president's rule in a state, the state legislation automatically gets dissolved. I have already told you, president rule doesn't mean the state legislation is dissolved. It means thus the government is dismissed, suspended. Only government is suspended. State legislature to be dissolved will require parliamentary approval. After parliamentary approval of the president rule, then only state legislature can be dissolved, according to S.R. Momoi's judgment. So this is wrong. President's rule can be imposed in a state only in event of constitutional breakdown. Yes, this is the only condition. So these are the few topics regarding national emergency. So the point to be noted here is that for revoking of national emergency, state emergency and financial emergency, there are certain differences. For revoking of national emergency, you require parliamentary approval, but for revoking of state or financial emergency, you do not require parliamentary approval. President can directly revoke it. Okay, that is one condition. Further, let us see if any more miscellaneous topics are there. Okay, so there is a topic of citizenship. We will make a note of it quickly. So citizenship is now in consideration regarding the Constitutional Amendment Act, whose rules are in currently the rules are in action. Okay, recently the government has issued some rules regarding Constitutional Amendment Act. So citizenship, then there are some non-constitutional bodies also that we have not talked, and scheduled areas and scheduled tribes, scheduled area and tribal areas. So we will see what we can achieve in this 10-15 minutes. So citizenship, the thing to be noted here is that citizenship is not defined in the constitution. Okay, citizenship is not defined in the constitution. What is mentioned in the constitution is that who are the citizen of India at the time of commencement of constitution, that is only mentioned. Okay, and further the citizenship will be dealt with by parliament. Okay, that is what the constitution says. So that at the time of commencement of constitution, it says 4 types of citizens live in India. 4 types. It mentions citizenship for 4 types. First is person domiciled in India. Person domiciled in India. Next, person who is migrated from Pakistan after partition. Migrated from Pakistan. This is the second category of citizens which are called as citizens as per the commencement of constitution. Third is person migrated to Pakistan, then come back to India. Okay, this is the third condition. This is also a citizen of India at the time of commencement of constitution. And fourth, person of Indian origin residing outside India. Okay, that is PIO outside India. These are also can be called as citizens. Okay, so basically these are the 4 categories at the commencement of constitution, which the constitution says that these are the citizens of India. Further, after this, the citizenship can be availed based on the parliamentary laws. So the Parliamentary Law Citizenship Act of 1955 gives some kind of citizenship acquisition. Okay, so what are the types of acquisitions? These: birth, descent, registration, naturalization, incorporation of the territory. So birth. So how by birth you can be a citizen of India? First is that either of your parent has to be citizen of India, or either of the parent is citizen. Okay, means both can be citizen and either can be citizen, and the other one shall not be an illegal immigrant. That is the condition for birth. Other one shall not be an illegal immigrant. This condition is after 1987. If a person born in India before 1987, irrespective of its parent, he can be called as citizen of India. Okay, but currently situation is that if you have to get a citizen of India by birth, then either of your parent must be citizen of India, and the other one shall not be an illegal immigrant. Okay, illegal immigrant. So that is by birth. Then by descent means if you are not born in India, fine, then not born in India, Either of the parent is Indian citizen, you are not born in India. Either of the parent can be citizen of India and need to register in the Indian consulate within 1 year. Okay, enrolled in Indian consulate wherever you are within 1 year, less than 1 year you have to enroll it, then you can get citizenship of India by descent. Further, registration. Now who can get citizenship by registration? So registration means, for example, it can be given to person of Indian origin. Person of Indian origin means, what is the person of Indian origin? Anyone who has carried Indian passport once in his lifetime. Okay, basically I will tell you what is person of Indian origin. There are 3 conditions for a person being person of Indian origin. Basically in day-to-day life we see person of Indian origin means he has some origin, his roots in India, that is called person of Indian origin. But there are few conditions here. Okay, first is that person of Indian origin means once in his lifetime he has Indian passport once in his life. Basically he has been citizen of India previously, sometimes has held an Indian passport. Second, either his parents, his grandparents, his great-grandparents, either of the grandparents, parents, great-grandparents has to be citizen of India at the commencement of constitution. Okay, that is second condition. These are or, okay, this is or parents, grandparents, great-grandparents should be citizen of India at the time of commencement of constitution. This is the second condition for being a PIO. Third is you are a spouse of citizen of India. If you are a spouse of a citizen of India, you can be called as a PIO. So these are the few conditions for PIO. Now PIO generally carry a OCI card. Okay, PIO generally carry overseas citizen of India card. So these cards give them access to India indefinitely. Fine, means they don't require any visa to come to India. Indefinite lifelong visa is available to them. Even LM Singhvi committee has recommended that OCI card holders shall be given dual citizenship, but that is not the case now. So these are the OCI card holders, PIOs. Now persons, these are the conditions for PIO. One more condition is that person shall not be from countries like bordering countries of India, Pakistan, China, Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Iran, etc. Person should not be from such countries. So these are the PIOs. Now talking about the PIOs, we were at the registration. Okay, citizenship by registration. So either PIO can be given citizenship by registration, or person married to Indian citizen. Person married to Indian citizen can also be given citizenship by registration. Further, OCI card holders, same, the PIO, but the condition is that they have to be present in India for at least 6 years before application. 6 years before application they had to be present in India, and 1 year in continue. That is by registration. Then by naturalization, it is a naturalization which was in news. The complete debate around the Constitutional Amendment Act is regarding this naturalization. So what is naturalization is that any person, irrespective of being citizen of India, being held an Indian passport, anything, nothing like that, any person can get citizenship of India if he resides 11 years in India and 1 year continuously before application of the naturalization process out of last 14 years. Okay, so out of last 14 years he should be available in India for 12 years, then only he can apply for naturalization. But what government has done in Constitutional Amendment Act, they have reduced this condition. Now the condition is that you need to be present in India only for 5 years before application of naturalization. Now this condition is only for 6 religions of 3 countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Okay, only six religion. What are the 6 religions? Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, Parsi, means other one is there, I am not able to get it. So these are the 6 religions which can get citizenship by naturalization, okay, by simply staying in India for 5 years. What is the cutoff date? Somewhere in December 2014, that is the cutoff date. So this is by naturalization. Every debate is regarding this, why these 6 religions are given preferences, but government has its own defension there. Government is defending this 6 religion thing on various occasions, so we will not go into it. The major thing to discuss is that this naturalization process requires at least 12 years to be present in India before application, but now for these 6 religions they have reduced this requirement by to 5 years actually, okay. So that is called as naturalization. And if you are to get citizenship by registration and naturalization, then you need to take oath of allegiance. Oath of allegiance of the Constitution of India, okay. Only these two required. Incorporation of territory, if a territory is gained by India, automatically all those Indians will be citizen of India. For example, Goa was acquired by India and all the citizens of Goa are the citizens of India. Loss of citizenship. Now there are 3 ways citizenship can be lost. For example, first is renunciation. Renunciation means automatically if a person declares that I don't want any citizenship of India. If person declaration that he or she doesn't want citizenship of India, then his minor, that is less than 18 years, will also lose the citizenship of India. Second one is termination. Termination, if person gets citizenship of any other country, then automatically his Indian citizenship will be done away with, okay. So because India does not allow dual citizenship. Last is deprivation. Deprivation means in certain conditions citizenship can be revoked. For example, in case of if a person has obtained citizenship of India by fraud, or he is not abiding the constitution, he has been talking to enemy allies, okay, then he has been in imprisonment for 2 years continuously before 5 years after getting citizenship by naturalization or registration. In that case also you can be deprived of your citizenship. So these are the few conditions for deprivation of citizenship, okay. So we will stop here. We will see the Constitutional Amendment Act in detail and further the non-constitutional body, the schedules, etc. in our next class, that is the next class, that will be the current affair class, okay. So in current affair class we will cover those things as well, fine. So please look after to that current affair class, that is the most important class here. Till now we have just done the revision, okay. So that will take around 2 hours, we will be done with the current affairs, okay. Thank you, have a nice day.